Hi, everyone. My name is Pedro Miranda. I'm a part of the Solana Foundation, formerly leading the creator economy team at the Solana Foundation on the growth side. Originally, this talk was going to be a Solana 101. I think there were some past panels and talks during the day that we eventually just made this around building products from a first principles perspective based on our experience in terms of talking to hundreds and thousands of teams on the consumer side over the past 3 years. So a little bit about me. I actually started in the blockchain space in 2017. I was at Consensus on the EVM side, focusing on building payment infrastructure, specifically for governments and for financial institutions. And I formally joined the Solana ecosystem in 2021 at a startup called Metaplex, which runs the NFT infrastructure standard on Solana. This presentation is just a mishmash of all the learnings that I've had in terms of talking to teams on the product side, both on the trends, the opportunities, and what we can be doing better. So this is not going to be a standard Solana 101 talk in terms of competitive advantages, but more so a first principles talks about how and why to build better products on chain relative to Web 2 systems. So why build products on chain? Let's remember why we're all here. It's not just because we love tokens, even though that's an amazing incentive mechanism. But from a first principles perspective, we'll go over all of these different aspects: trustless and censorship resistance, security and provenance, ownership and self-sovereignty, interoperability and composability, and programmable money. Right? These are all kind of buzz phrases that you've read essays on crypto Twitter about and Medium articles, but they're actually a core theme in terms of why we're actually here and distilling that on the product side for startups and institutions building on chain. So the first one is composability actually provides a ton of great opportunities for operational leverage. My favorite, and a team that's actually here in Seoul, Boston, is a whiskey high-end marketplace called Baxis. Baxis effectively takes their high-end whiskey and tokenizes them as NFTs and puts them on chain. Now, it's not only just to encourage speculation or raise more money, but it's actually for an operational purpose. Having high-end whiskeys as NFTs allows Baxis to access the larger Solana ecosystem from a developer and infrastructure perspective. What I mean by that is all these interesting arrows here from the marketplace perspective, from lending, transfers, financialization, settlement, is actually not done in-house by the Baxis team. Baxis actually lends the privilege of being part of the larger Solana ecosystem. So they actually can sell an NFT, a Baxis whiskey, on Tensor, which Maddie Taylor from Coliseum said was a hackathon winner, one of the leading NFT marketplaces. You can collateralize your whiskey that you bought and actually get a loan through Bridge Split or other DeFi protocols on Solana. This allows the Baxis team to stay nimble, stay small, and actually focus on the challenges that they're facing and that they're solving in the whiskey industry. They don't have to worry about blockchain infrastructure and updating their RPCs, but rather how to run a really successful business in the whiskey space. And efficiency gains are innovation too. We talk about how payments are so much better on chain than traditional Web 2 systems, and they actually really are. This is kind of the classic example of this. If you guys are from out of town, not from Boston, hopefully you booked your hotel at least 30 days before, most likely not, but this is the life cycle of a hotel booking and payment and settlement from consumer to hotel to vendor payout. Usually you book 30 days in advance, and then the hotel actually receives the payment and is actually able to divvy up the funds, pay their employees, vendors, etc., 30 days after you actually stay at the hotel, which is a kind of awful process. We actually have a really interesting phrase that we heard someone use called a stablecoin sandwich, which is effectively, instead of being paid in fiat and actually having to hold money in a Stripe account where you have to, get all the approvals to actually pay people out, you can effectively incentivize consumers to pay in stablecoins on Solana by offering them a 10% rebate or discounts. So what effectively happens is your booking rate is 10% cheaper, and what that actually looks like is that the hotel or the vendor can actually accrue interest and yield on that stablecoin in the same amount of time that it takes for them to traditionally pay out their other customers, their vendors, their employees. So they pass on that cost saving from the consumer to the hotel employees and other partners. And this can only be uniquely done with the blockchain because you're accessing composability in other avenues of the decentralized finance ecosystem in order to get yield. So why build products specifically on Solana? When building products, the technology should not get in the way. On-chain products historically have not been this way. You usually have to worry about how you're getting composability, what are the constraints of the system that you're building in, and what L2 and infrastructure you effectively have to choose. This is actually pretty similar to just the way that humans innately operate. Form follows function, right? We have 10 fingers, 2 hands, and the systems that we build in our everyday lives is actually around the natural sphere that we operate in. But going back to what a blockchain and the technology effectively is it's kind of similar to the last 7 years of smart contract development, which is they've effectively been built for horses, right? In the old days, you had horses, you had to rely on building farms around them, actually planning out your travel schedule around when you can get from point A to point B, mapping the weather that a horse can effectively ride on. But this is the old paradigm of smart contract development for the past 7 years. Again, there was an improvement with the car with regards to newer blockchains, but everything was bumpy. There was no paved roads, but this was definitely better than the horse, right? You actually had operational gains. And where we are today, where Solana is paved highways where effectively you don't have to worry about, the weather and everything in the background, but you actually can just get from point A to point B and not worry about the technology in the back end. So that was a weird tangent in terms of form follows function, but going back to what this all has to do about Solana and building products on chain is that you have to be people-centric. There's this really interesting exercise that we do at the Solana Foundation internally is whenever we're talking to a team, is that they usually start off talking about the technology and what their token does and what their on-chain infrastructure looks like, but it's rarely about the people that they're building it for and the customers and the needs that they're trying to solve. And what we've uniquely found is that the teams that actually build with people in mind in terms of their goals and the experiences they want to provide are ultimately the most successful from a product development perspective. One easy way to do this is the notion of deliver value immediately. How many of you have downloaded an app on your phone only to get completely disinterested when you actually have to pay for something before getting value delivered? People care whether you solve their problem immediately and then you could pay for that value afterwards. It's effectively a deference of the value that you earned. In crypto, this is pretty unique to the Connect Wallet button. I would say 95% of dApps and wallets, websites in crypto actually still have this. But this actually infers a lot of things or implies a lot of things about your end user. One, implies that a user actually has a wallet. Two, you actually know what network the user is using. If it's whatever ETH-L2 or Alt-L1 that they actually have, and your end user is just going to drop right off. Many teams don't take advantage of what a public blockchain effectively is. Instead, what you should do, you can preview another public key. What that means is that you can actually give a user a wallet, effectively. Instead of starting with Connect Wallet, you could preview them the experience and the value that you're delivering, starting from a non-custodial solution, graduating to a self-custodial solution in the future. The TLDR is that you can deliver value and then go to self-custody and introduce the Connect Wallet button later on in the life cycle. In Web 2, it's get rid of the paywall, right? The subscriptions and creator monetization in Web 2 has emerged with newspapers trying to revolutionize their business model. And a lot of people just get around the paywall by, how do I get rid of the paywall? NY Times, Reddit, right? And you copy and paste the URL and whatnot. But crypto can uniquely solve this for free. Gas and protocol tokens are effectively unnecessary friction, and transaction relayers and ZK compression on Solana can get one user started for a fraction of a tenth of a cent today. Going back to the notion of value being delivered and derived, you can sponsor the onboarding and the life cycle of your user's journey in your app for a couple cents on Solana. And one thing that we don't see enough is the blockchain in Solana is a big public database that is readable and queryable by everyone. It's a rich social graph with a ton of historical context in terms of users and their interactions with their friends and others on chain. We always see, when you go to an application, upload a profile picture. Connect Wallet, upload a profile picture. But the blockchain is just a rich social graph where you already know who I am. You know what I like to collect. You know what I like to listen to. You know who I interact with. I shouldn't need to upload a profile picture. An application can just pull from your most popular, most viewed NFTs in your wallet to auto-generate a social profile with a custodial wallet for you to get started right away. This is really hard in Web 2 and really unique to Web 3 because you have to connect and go over different social graphs in Web 2, and you're not going to have access to your Spotify data on Facebook, on SoundCloud that easily without pinging an API key and paying a ton of money. And another thing is meeting people where they are. You should be able to meet your users with whatever transaction you want to do, whatever platform they're using. A lot of our social graph and our interactions in the crypto and Web3 world is Twitter for whatever reason. And while that might be sustainable or not, in the near term, we should be able to meet them where they are. So Solana Actions and Solana Blinks is a primitive that Chris from Dialect actually spoke about, I think a few hours ago here. And what Blinks effectively does is it brings on-chain transactions to any app or any service of the web. So this right here is a really interesting Blink where you can actually play chess with someone in your Twitter DMs and then also kind of bet and wager on who's going to win. So the experiences that you can build using Blinks and Actions is essentially taking your app or experience and meeting them where your users are, whether it be Twitter or Telegram and other platforms coming in the near future. And Blinks is a high-intent game. Intent essentially means that you know what your users want to do, and you build an experience around the intent of what they're actually trying to do on-chain. So give me the thing that you know I want to do when you're about to get liquidated, or when your Star Atlas ship needs to go, battle your friend on another battle, or when your NFT gets the highest bid. You can do that, just click it on any app or any platform you want because you know the intent of the user from a composability perspective. We have a lot of people from financial backgrounds here. This is something really interesting that we see, is that building permission products on a permissionless network is easy with Solana token extensions, PYUSD, which is PayPal's stablecoin on Solana, is built with token extensions actually, where you can control an asset on a public network with Solana and embed it with different rules. But the opposite is impossible. We talk with a lot of financial institutions who want to de-permissioned the products that they're building and put them on a public network. It's really, really hard. So token extensions was built for financial institutions that do want to benefit from open liquidity and composability. So that was a lot. Where do we go from here? Well, this is all possible on Solana today, right? This isn't on a roadmap or on a Medium post or a blog post. We can do this today. If you're a founder, if you're a builder, if you just submitted for the hackathon, these are experiences that we can build for consumers in crypto today, whether it's gas tokens, smart contracts, smart contract wallets, seed phrases, identity. They're not a fantasy, right? We can actually give any user for a fraction of a cent a wallet with a seed phrase, with a little bit of Solana tokens, and have them experience on-chain in a frictionless manner. And I think to finish some concluding thoughts is that our identities are going to be physical and digital. The metaverse doesn't look like some goggles that you put in and you're walking around with in your daily life, but it is taking advantage of your digital interactions and how that actually plays out in the physical world. And blockchains make our identity more portable as a result of these experiences that we can build. And lastly, the AI hype cycle and crypto Twitter meme coin fascination really makes it so that we think that these are the things that matter in a vacuum. When in reality, when you talk to people about the real problems that they have and how blockchain can actually solve them, you actually can root your work in empathy and find out what real value you can deliver to your users using Solana today. So that was a lot. I really appreciate you all being here and showing up. And now I'll take any questions.
We got some time for some questions. Let's see some hands. I'm looking out. Here I got one. I told you.
Great talk. Really enjoyed the part about graduating people to self-custody. Do you have any other examples for UIs that you think are in the similar category where people don't need to know or care about crypto under the hood, and you can kind of gently push them down their path?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Baxis is an example I mentioned around operational efficiency. They actually point their users to a Web2 login. So you can actually sign in with Google. It creates a wallet on the back end where you can just custody your crypto. And then over time, as you trade the whiskey assets, it actually points you to do more things on chain. So you could either list your NFT on Tensor, kicks you to Tensor, or you could actually go to Bridge Split like I talked about and collateralize your whiskey position and get a loan from Orca, Radium, etc.
So you sort of dangle the value to get them to take that next leap?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So that's experiences that we definitely want to encourage from the Solana Foundation, Super Team, Coliseum, etc.
I got time for one more question.
Thanks for the talk. Really appreciate it. It feels like a lot of the sort of the outreach or the content here is geared towards sort of startups looking to build, individual projects looking to build. Is there also an effort to focus more on existing enterprises? And sort of what do you dangle in front of those sorts of folks to say, hey, how does someone like, you mentioned PayPal and the Visas of the world, how do you get them excited versus just some of the individual projects from people in this room?
Yeah, 1,000%. That's a fantastic question. So the stablecoin sandwich, I think, is the best example of where revenue-generating businesses are looking to add crypto to streamline their business. We're working with a partner that organizes events in New York City, Miami, Boston, etc. And anytime their Stripe account has anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 just sitting there waiting to pay out their vendors and event venues, and they can't do anything with it until Stripe gives them the go-ahead. So we're working with them to essentially, instead of fiat in their Stripe account, they could actually use stable coins, so they can actually generate yield on that $50,000 in their Stripe account and deliver the cost savings to either consumers or pay their partners more money, right? So I think this is a great example of this. And then institutions, I think, are utilizing token extensions, as we mentioned, just to have more transparency and more granularity in terms of the rules and what they can do with their assets on chain.
Pedro, Miranda from Solana Foundation, I want to thank you very much for your time here today. All right, give it up for Pedro.